Hey, I'm Lasse Lammert and you're checking out my Tonality plugin suite with STL Tones. So I want to show you how I'm using this plugin in a mix and how I actually did use it. This is a band called A Night in Texas from Australia. They allowed me to use this material, so thanks for that. Because I think it's fairly guitar driven, and we've got a few different sounds here that I can show you. And I've created presets I actually used on the album, and those will come with a plugin suite. So we've got the most important guitars. In this case, is the rhythm guitars. Let's give them a listen. Well, actually, let's just check out the song first, just a bit, so you see what it's about. There we go. So that's pretty heavy, huh? We also have less heavy sections like this one here. But let's start with the heavy. Let's start with the rhythm guitars. So here we used My Baby, the Purple Nightmare. I didn't use the boosts in the boost section here because the Purple Nightmare's got an overdrive included, and that's what I'm using here. And this goes into my beloved oversized cabinet. I'm getting the majority out of the SM57 here. That's the majority of the tone, and I'm blending it a little bit with a dynamic mic and M201 it's called. Move the mics to where I like them. Just grab them, move them, change the angle a bit. Let's give this a listen. Just the guitars. That's pretty heavy and fairly distorted, isn't it? That amp can do high gain. So then we've got the post section. This is where I never use delay or reverb in rhythm guitars. Well, never. In the metal context anyway. And sometimes I sculpt the tone a bit after the fact. So I've got the mic tone the way I like it, and in the mix sometimes you feel it needs a bit push in the mix. So there's a fizzy frequency that you want to reduce lightly maybe. That's what I'm using this equalizer for. It's not doing much, but I'll just switch it on and off. You'll hear it. It's really just to create some space. Just a little bit of fizz is gone. So we've got a second set of rhythm guitars. These are overdub guitars coming in the choruses and towards the end. Let's check these out. And I'm using a different amp on this one. Here we've got another German boutique amp that's famous for the heavy. So, and that also again is going into an oversized cabinet, but different mic settings here, different mics, and also a different blend between the mics. This is important because once you start blending sounds and having different sounds, frequency spikes and dips can add up and pile on top of each other. So as soon as I start layering guitars, it's good to have slightly different sounds. That's why I use different mics, different cabs and move mics. So let's check those out together. Here's another section. So those are the main guitars throughout the song. Then we've got a guitar that's pretty important in the intro, and it plays a big role there, but it also keeps coming back in the choruses, and that's an ambient guitar. This guitar is not too loud at the mix, but it's still very important, and it's like a lush, almost keyboard kind of sound. Let's check it out. That's nice texture. And again, to get a different sound that doesn't add on the same spikes and dips, I'm using different cabs, different amps. Here we're using the British style amp, and this is with the Legendary Tones Hot Mod Engaged for some extra gain, some extra heft. And we're boosting this slightly with an equalizer. I like using this equalizer in the stomp section to boost some mids to get some more point out of the guitars, and also to get some more volume if needed. You could just raise the gain in the amplifier, or you just boost more level into it. Both will give you different results. And in this case, I like the boosting to the amp and then reducing the gain on the amp. So that goes into yet another cabinet. This is a German-made cab, mixed with a Californian cab, again for a different tonality, but different tonality spectrum, not plug-in. Still using the same STL tonality Lasse Lammert suite, obviously. And again, we're using some post EQ, pushing some mids and reducing some of the high fizz, as you can see here. And this ambient guitar, well, the name already says it, it's very ambient. So we've got a bunch of delay and reverb to make it sound big and lush. I just switch all these guys off and then back on so you can hear the difference. What I wanted to achieve with the delay and reverbs to smear the attack a little bit. I didn't want it to be so upfront in the mix that it just pokes out like all these little attacks. I want it to be like almost like a blanket kind of thing, covering the whole mix in awesome juice without being too prominent. So that's what we're using this for. So we've got one more guitar, and this is a semi-clean, semi-overdriven Overdub guitar, and sounds like this. Again, this plays an important role in the intro especially, but it comes back in the song and it helps put the whole song together. So you come back to something, pick it up, something that you heard earlier. That's always important and good in the song. And this I wanted it to sound almost lo-fi. So we're going with this British style amp, which is just like the amp for crunch tones. So it works perfect. But I'm using the liver kick pedal to change the tone a little bit more. And often I'm using this pedal to clean some lows, to make it tighter and to boost into the amp. I'm kind of doing the opposite here. I'm using it to make it sound a bit less pointy, almost lo-fi, and almost blowing up a little bit more than it would without the pedal. So I'll switch it off and on. This is actually a fairly drastic difference. Check it out. So that's a totally different way of using a pedal. I'm not boosting, I'm actually cutting, like I'm doing the opposite. And that gives me so many more options. That amp, to get that vintage tonality, goes into my old vintage British cabinet. This one's got black back speakers in, and I'm using a ribbon mic. This is a R121 to make it sound a bit more smooth, to round off the high end a little bit more. And yeah, that's all that really. There's no post EQ in this case. There's just a tiny bit of reverb because I wanted to put the guitar a little bit in the room, a little bit in the back to not be so upfront. But that's really just very little. So those two guitars, the ambient guitars and the overdrive guitars, combine to the intro of the song pretty much. And they come back in the chorus later. Let's see if you can hear them. They're pretty low in the mix, but they do add something. So what I think, or what was important for me, I didn't want to use any post effects. And that's also, with a selection of effects on the plugin suite, I like to keep it simple, but effective and versatile. And I want to be able to do what I need to do with just the delay and the reverb, or the effects. Be it just a tiny bit of room, or to add juice to a solo, or in this case, like the ambient guitars, to really make it sound very wide and very lush. And that's what was very important, to have a small selection of effects that are very effective and that can do all that. So these are the presets I created for the album, both rhythm guitar tones, the ambient guitars and the overdrive guitars, and those are included in the plugin as well. We did one more thing. Now the other way around, we just mute all the guitars, listen to the song without guitars, and I drop the guitars back in one after the other, so you can actually hear what they add to the mix. So here, as they keep coming in, it adds to the song, but it doesn't add to the messiness, I want to say. And that is very important, that you hear the elements come in, but it doesn't start to mask other stuff. It doesn't start to pile up and be uncontrolled and muddy. And that's why I like to use a tiny bit of post-equalizer sometimes to just create some space. And that's what this guy's doing here in the post section. And that's all I need. That's all I need for rhythm guitars, that's all I need for lead, that's all I need for overdrive. And that's what was important to me. We've got all the tools in a very concise but very versatile toolbox.